But this is different because now 10, 12 games into the season, this is a different Cleveland Browns team right now also.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about before the season was the idea that the teams that would come out of this COVID, this unique situation of very little training camp, not much together time, were going to be the organizations that had been together for a while. So we knew the Steelers and the Ravens would, or at least I suspected that they would come out of the gate pretty well. And then what we're seeing now is a team under Kevin Stefanski that has caught them. And I think in the case of the Steelers and the Ravens right now, I think has surpassed them. And
that's what I asked.
I don't say that like cavalierly either, that because I lived in Cleveland for 30 years. That's not a homer take on this thing.
Right.
I think right now they're the best team in the division, and they still have to beat those two teams that they haven't been able to handle for many, many years. But offensively, right now, the Cleveland Browns are a more well-rounded and dangerous team than the Steelers are, and I think also than the Ravens are. But we'll see. I mean, Lamar Jackson is still that X factor who could light it up if he has that kind of game.
I've been saying anyway that the Browns have an easy schedule all the way out here, but the other teams have easy schedules also, which makes the head-to-head meeting between the Browns and the Ravens all that more important. I hear people giving up on winning the division. I don't give up on it. They can win it just as easily as Baltimore or Pittsburgh can do it.
Well, after last night, I certainly think it's nothing to give up on. I mean, we're talking about a Steelers team that seems to be able to only a quarterback who seems to be able to only throw the ball 15 yards downfield. And I know that's their offensive strategy right now. It's to keep Ben Roethlisberger healthy. He was sacked for the first time in 250 snaps or whatever it was last night. But because they don't look downfield very often, those defenses are starting to really crowd the line of scrimmage, and we saw it last night with a pick six. And so they still have to go in, and they have to play Indianapolis yet, and they have to play the Browns. And I think it's not a given that they're going to roll the Indianapolis Colts. They'll beat the Bengals this week, you would think. That would put them at 12-2. But it's not a definite that they win those last two games. And if the Browns can win out, which is, it's a possibility now, right? I mean, if you
any one of the three teams can win out. It's kind of interesting when you think about it. If you were going to restack the teams and the season was going to start today, and you got a 4-game schedule, a truncated schedule, who would you pick? Who would you pick as your number one? We always redraw the draft. Now let's redraw the Browns and Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I'm not sure who you'd go 1, 2, and 3.
I would really be tempted. Let's go Browns number one, because I've seen a Ravens offense that seems to be bogged down. A secondary that I don't think is as good as people thought it was when the season began, and a Steelers defense a Steelers offense that can't run the ball, and a defense that has lost some really key guys. I mean, you've lost Devin Bush, you've lost Bud Dupree. It's not the same defense that it was in the beginning of the year, and you saw what a good quarterback with a really good arm did to them last night when they kept coming after him the way they did. Really made him pay. And, they did it with a good wide receiver from Buffalo. And maybe the Browns don't have that guy with Beckham out, but they certainly have a good group of wide receivers right now.
I'm watching the game and nothing was happening in the first quarter and a half. And then finally Pittsburgh breaks the ice and gets a touchdown. And I figure, okay, this game might be over now. Get a field goal, and you got a 10-7 game here probably when it's all said and done. And I'm still watching as time's going on, and Pittsburgh's not doing anything. They didn't, they scored the touchdown. They didn't have the the heavyweight punch that they needed.
Yeah, if you're gonna throw the ball the way they do now, which is to get it out of his hands quickly, short passes, hope these guys can break, run after catch. You need guys that are shorthanded, and they've really struggled in that regard. I mean, they did it last night early on, and benched a wide receiver who couldn't catch it, and they realized that he better be part of their offense because he's the most explosive part of their offense. So they're still struggling right now, and Ben Roethlisberger, is showing his age, and we all knew that would happen eventually, but it certainly is happening now.